Thank you, Maura. Don't be running away.
Sit down here for a second.
I was down in South Africa a couple of months ago. Actually, on Christmas Day, I was on Robben Island, where you know Nelson Mandela and Walter Sisulu and many people were held for many years of their life. And the day I went out on Christmas Day, it was unfortunately one of those days that there was a lot of tourists around, and I just couldn't get my right photograph. Every time I went to Mandela's cell, there was 40 people around the cell as well. And even if I waited at the end, somebody sort of pulled me away. And I was chatting this other prisoner. She was from the Hosa tribe. She'd been incarcerated with Nelson Mandela for 18 years of her life. And I was telling her of the years that I originally was registered in South Africa back in the 1980s, but refused to work there for my own reasons, and didn't work there until Nelson Mandela was released. And I had been telling her this. And when I was coming back from the island, I felt very sad that I had no photographs that sort of represented the whole spirit of the island. And so I decided to go back again. We were down shark diving in Hermanus, and I decided I'll go back. They wouldn't let me onto the island, and I told them who I was, but every time they looked up the internet, it was that I'd said something against Thabo Mbeki or something against South Africa. So they said, we're certainly not sending that guy out.
You're certainly revealing that tonight.
So anyway, in the end, they let me out on the last sort of boat. And I was the only token white on the boat. It's a funny thing. It must have been like the Mandela football club that Winnie had, but everybody was sort of watching me on the way out. And as we sort of approached the island and we hit the lime quarry where, you know, Nelson Mandela had lost his eyesight and everything, everybody was looking at me as if it was me that had done it, you know. And then when we reached the compound where Joe Sisibu had been held for a lot of his life, and they showed where the prison dogs got 3 by 3 meters, but the prisoners only got 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters, they were all looking at me again as if, you know, you guys did this to our people, you know. And when we eventually reached Mandela's cell, and it showed where he was sort of cramped up in a very sort of small space for 18 years of his life, the pressure was really on, you know, and they were looking at me in such a way that if I even answered a question, they thought it was my father or something that sort of, you know, had incarcerated these people many years ago. And we were walking by a toilet at the time, and there was a little sign in the toilet, and it said, out of order, and somebody had written underneath it, yes, they were big time, you know. But as we sort of sat in the room, and I was the only one maybe of about 40 black people that was sitting there, and everybody was looking at me, and lucky enough we had exactly the same person showing us around the prison as we had 4 days before that. This lady that sort of, you know, had been a former member of the Communist Party and had been incarcerated for a long time. So as she ran through all the different sort of problems that had happened to them down through the years and the brutality and that they had suffered, everybody was looking at me and even edging up further and further away from me, you know. And then she happened to get up and she turned around and she said, you know, people like Nelson Mandela at the end of the day didn't really do anything to get out of prison. They were the prisoners in here. And she says, it was people like Patrick Treacy here, because you remember me 4 days ago, they were the real heroes because they were the ones who protested to get him out. And it was wonderful. For the first time, it just turned everything around because these people got up and started shaking my hand. And in a way, I feel like that tonight. The real heroes of the opening of Cork are in the audience. It's not really me at all. It's people like Jane Hildred here, Sean, my brother, who built the clinic, Jane beside him, who designed it, all the staff that are around us, and a big sort of hand for them, you know.